just don't know how many lives you're saving, especially at that age. This is a second grader.
All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Emeroy TV, or you might just be listening on the Move Groove Grow podcast, or even on the Vision Paradox podcast. Today, I bring back a happiness legend that I interviewed back in 2011, about 2012, when I first interviewed him. We had an amazing chat back in the day about. I think for me, I was curious about how he got started in starting his movement in being a speaker and his platform for it, because at that time I had interest in being a speaker, but now I'm really more interested in what he's doing. We're currently working with him, and we're really passionate about what his program is about, and I kind of for me, I really kind of want to dig deep a little bit more in this episode about his approach to it, why it's so important, and everything. So if it's your first time hopping onto the podcast, welcome. I'm going to pass the mic to Danny so you can get a little bit more about him, a little bit of his origin story. Take it away, Danny.
Hi, thank you, Emeroy, for having me. I'm just so excited about this interview. I've been antsy. I haven't been able to go to any schools because of the pandemic, but I think this is the time where I kind of get back to the basics of finding my happiness, remaining patient, and then figuring out what is going to happen or how I'm going to change it up when the kids go back to school and I'm able to spread that happiness. So
for those who haven't seen the previous interview and aren't too sure, who've never worked with you or seen your stuff, give a little bit about of origin story of you, your brand, and how you got into it.
Sure. So I was a high school math teacher out of college. But prior to that, I was a professional dancer and choreographer. And so when I was going on these auditions, I wasn't booking anything. And I booked a very first tour with Jocelyn Enriquez, and we did the Kiss FM tour.
Nice.
And it was fun, but I quickly realized that this is not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to dance and be a background dancer. I just didn't want to tour because it wasn't stable, and I didn't have medical insurance. So those things really stuck with me. And I said, okay, well, if I can't dance, then what can I do? And one of my friends said, hey, you like to dance. You're a great teacher. Why don't you consider being a high school teacher? And I did. I went back to Cal State Fullerton. I got my teacher credential, and I taught math for about 8 years. And then, what happened was I wasn't dancing anymore, so I was a little bit sad. And so I wanted to figure out, well, why am I still sad? Why am I not as happy? Because I had a job, I had my medical benefits, I made a lot of money, or I was actually, I made enough money, but why was I still unhappy? It's because I wasn't dancing. And so what I decided to do was I decided to quit teaching and explore this world of speaking. But it didn't start until I would watch TED Talks, and they were really popular back maybe 10 years ago. And Brene Brown was the Power of Vulnerability.
That was a good video.
That video changed my life. And so once I saw that, I was inspired to do a TED Talk, and I reached out to all the TED coordinators, and TEDx San Diego said yes. And so nice. I did a 12-minute talk about overcoming my fears. And right then and there, I was standing there and I looked up to the sky and I heard God. It was Oprah. And she said, this is your passion. This is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be dancing. You're supposed to be inspiring the youth. And so I want you to go ahead and take this first step on your journey. And so that's when I started speaking in high schools and middle schools. And so that was the beginning of it. So I was inspired by Brene Brown and TED Talks.
Your brand is called, your company is called Happiness Is Now. How did you come, what led you to that name?
Okay, so back at that time when I left teaching, it hit a rock bottom. I just got out of a long-term relationship. And just things weren't going my way. I thought that happiness was about money, and I had a nice car and I had a house, and that's what my parents taught me. That's what society said. But we all we all find out that that's not true. And so I went to a therapist and I just started from the beginning, and she said, "Why don't you just start doing things with nature?" You know?
Hmm.
And I was like, "Okay, nature." And my friend told me to go to, it was a monastery, a Buddhist monastery in Deer Park, in Escondido. And she said, "Why don't you go there?" So I went there. It's called Deer Park Monastery. It's a monastery created by Thich Nhat Hanh.
Oh
And it was,
shit.
yeah, it was a 7 day retreat where you would meditate at 5 a.m. And several times throughout the day. You ate vegan food, and it was a lot of like internal stuff. And I was by myself. There was me and two other people on the 7 day retreat. And every day I would journal, and it just, they were talking about the present moment. They're talking about the now. And I was like, oh, that's it. Happiness is now. Happiness is at this present moment, at this point.
Mm.
There is no, there is no drama. There is no fear. There is no hurt. There's no anger at this moment. Happiness is now. And that's where I created that name.
Do a lot of your speaking towards the youth in regards to elementary to middle school to high school? How come? Why not like the general audience? Like going to adults. Those professional conventions. Well, why the youth over these? I guess these typical entrepreneur meetings or conventions, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I'm just terrified of speaking to adults because when I was a teacher and we would go to the district meetings at the beginning of school, the superintendent would speak in front of us and talk about, just welcoming everybody back. And all the while, all the teachers are drawing pictures of him and passing it around and making jokes. And we're supposed to be
Wow.
role models. And here I am, like making fun of our boss, and everybody's just like not listening. And so I think ever since that, I just was a little bit terrified to speak in front of adults. And I look rather young. So even when I would speak in front of adults and I knew what I was saying and I had experience, I just didn't get the same reaction as I did with kids. You know,
Mm.
when I start dancing, or they look at my tattoos or my hair, they're like, "Oh, this guy looks like us," and that's when we have this connection. And so I think with kids, they less judge. It's not about judging. They're just about having fun and connecting and transferring that energy. So I actually started speaking with high schoolers first,
Mm.
which is terrifying, but I slowly got into that vulnerability, and it was just being about myself and telling my story. I think high schoolers are trying to find themselves, and they're trying to look for people that have gone through it, and they just want to know that
Mm.
everything's going to be all right in the end. And so I did middle school and high school, and then I transitioned into elementary school because somebody said, "Hey, we need this there." And I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, I went in there, I was like, "What am I going to do? I can't talk to these kids. They're not
Mm-hmm.
going to listen to me." I, so I went in there so fearful. And then I realized that when you turn on the music, they start dancing, and all you need to do is dance with them. And then you sit them down once they get tired, and then you have 3 minutes to disseminate the information about, being kind, or trying your hardest. And you don't have to be perfect, but you always have to try your best. And that's why I have that sign back there: always do your
Mm.
best. And so with these kids, there's just a pure energy about them. And I feel like at that age, it's just so much more pure. And I feel like I can start them off to the right path.
Walk me through like a typical, I'd say, assembly would be with for the kids.
Sure. Okay, so when the kids start coming in and their teachers are coming, it's usually the kindergartners, and they've never experienced an assembly. The music is loud, and they're coming in, they're looking at me, and they're a little fearful, And so what I start doing is I actually would stand up, and then I would start doing the floss, and then they would start laughing. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, you know the floss." And I would just doing all these Fortnite dances, and those are things that they're familiar with. And so once I was able to connect with them with those dances, now we had that connection. Now they trust me. And so after that, the older kids would come in. I would bring those kindergartners up who wanted to show their dancing skills, and they would come up on stage, and kind of like a pre-act, right? And
Mm.
so they would dance and get everybody excited. And so once the assembly starts, I tell a little bit of my story. It's about how I was Filipino, and my mom was like loud and crazy, and we used to go to these Filipino parties, and we basically danced. And so I would do my dance performance. Uh, After that, I get everybody into Peak State by showing them different dances, and they would follow me, and we would create this energy, and you can feel the energy in the crowd. And getting them to this peak state, it's not really about the dancing. It's about bringing the energy up so that the kids are excited, and they get to the point where they'll be able to listen. They'll want to listen. And after we dance, they have a seat, and then I could talk about being kind and finding your happiness and doing your best, and Red Ribbon Week. It all depends. And I think at the very end, I teach everybody the entire dance, and then I have the teachers come up and perform for the kids.
No,
And
that's
it's so
cool.
important. It's so important that the kids see their teachers come up there and be vulnerable. And even if they're not good, it's the best when the teachers are not good, but they're just up there having a good time, because when they go back to class, the kids are going to look at them and say, wow, that is so cool. You're able to go up there. Maybe you weren't very good, but you really were having so much fun, and you're really awesome. So um, I think it just shows it's really powerful to see your teacher up on stage. And then we leave with just having that reinvigorating spirit, that energy that starts with the teacher, and then it continues with the class. And that can go on. Every Friday can be a dance party.
Was reading a recent article about the importance of children's happiness. I was really blown away at the statistic. I think of the leading cause of death for kids between the ages of 5 and 19 is actually suicide. So and I at that. So what you're doing, and I think in like I think a lot of adults. I might just be a projection. Like we overlook the importance of the well-being of a kid because they're children. Like they'll forget, they don't understand. Can you elaborate how deeply important it is to the mental health and the happiness of a child? Just because you've got the opportunity to see and work with kids and work and like talk to kids and make an impact on them, like and that from all walks of life.
Yeah, good question. I think it's especially a difficult time, uh, and it's real. I don't know if I'd be as happy as I am now living in this time as a child, because as a kid, because social media is so powerful, and it's so connecting, but it's also very dangerous, because a kid can look at their friends at this time of the pandemic, and they can see other people living their best lives and on vacation and doing these activities, and
Yeah.
you're scrolling and you're seeing these things, and you're like, why am I not doing that? I'm a loser. I wish I had, that life. I wish I was somebody else. And it can go into a spiral. And so, uh, although social media is a great connector, it can also be a great stressor. And when we grew up, we didn't have anything like that. We would have to go outside and we would play. We would be under the sun, and when you get sun, you get those powerful rays that create the vitamin D in your body. You get energized. You're riding your bike or you're skateboarding, and you're moving around. You're activating your happy brain chemicals. You're getting a dose of your dopamine, your oxytocin, your serotonin, and your endorphins. And you do this for hours, and you're connecting with your friends, and you're going to the parks, and there's just a lot of physical activity. And there's scientific proof that physical activity makes you happier because of those endorphins. And so I would say it's okay, yes, sure, to get on that social media and to share and to watch and just to connect with your friends. But you also have to remind yourself that people post their best selves. They always post not their real life,
Yeah.
but they want people to see. So you have to understand that everybody, life is hard for everybody. And you just got to remind yourself that, yes, I'm going to be looking at the social media, and if you start getting depressed or a little bit sad about it, then maybe it's time to take a break from it and maybe go outside and start dancing or listening to music or just getting active. So yeah, I think it's very important at this time for the kids to go outside. you know, to get the sun. Being outside, there's a scientific report that I saw that heat and ultraviolet rays kill coronavirus. If it's, I believe, over 80 degrees outside and the
Mhm.
rays, there won't be any coronavirus in the air. So I think it's important to be outside or going to the parks, and of course social distancing and having masks. But it's very important to still be outside when you can.
Yeah, safely. Yeah, because I mean, for me, like I'm a homebody, like, but I personally notice a sensation in myself when I'm outside, just for even just a walk.
Hmm.
How just being outside kind of uplifts my spirit instead of just being at home. I know there's a whole move. There's a schools in California aren't going to be opening until the fall. So, but I know for me, and I'm pretty sure some other people might be curious about this. Is like how would like your how would you approach your assembly now that there's this whole looming fear of coronavirus, social distancing, trying to keep the kids safe? Like how what would the new approach be?
Well, I tried doing an assembly on Zoom, and I tried teaching dance classes. And although it was fun, I quickly learned that the energy transfer wasn't there. And as a performer, you thrive and you strive off the energy of the audience,
It's true.
and you kind of rely on that. And
Mm.
for me, when I started doing that, it wasn't my true self. I was acting a little not normal for me. People would look at me and they'd be like, "Oh, that's like he has so much energy," but that to me is not true energy, and I don't know how sustainable that was. So I decided that I wasn't going to do that. Now, I am optimistic that we are going to be going back to school, and the pandemic will end. I'm very optimistic about that, at least for next year. And I'm going to remain patient, and I'm going to remain optimistic. I would love to go around once the kids start going back, and it's more safe, that we take the assembly outdoors.
Mm.
Have the kids in the grass, and we have this big stage, and it's in the center, and the kids circle around, and they're socially distant, and they're in the sun, and I bring my big speakers, and we just have fun. Yeah, it's like a big kickball game, but it's dancing, uh,
Mm.
and it's just connecting outdoors. And like I was saying earlier, it's very important to be outdoors. I think just moving it outdoors would be a smart move. So
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, because me as a parent, like I feel like it's been in the scope of things of their whole high school life. It's or their high school, their whole school career, so to speak. It's a small amount of time, a summer, a few months versus the rest of the years. But I also feel like this is, kids. A lot of kids right now are missing out on an opportunity to be social with their friends, especially if they're not, their home situation isn't the best. Some of them, school is the best thing that happened to them because they have their friends or they have adults that care about them. So like it sucks that I guess the lockdown here has extended,
I know.
and schools aren't shut down. But I'm as long as the kids are safe for the most part, because I don't know what happens behind closed doors. What do you feel like you enjoy most about your job?
I enjoy the smirks of the audience, and the who is this person, and kind of like um, I enjoy that when they first come in, and they're like, "Who's this guy?" And another assembly. Like when you think of assembly or presentation, you don't think of having fun, and so I love being the underdog, sort of say. Um, and then when I just bust out that first dance move, um, the kids light up. And it's an old school dance, and the teachers are like, "Oh my gosh, I remember this song when I was in middle school."
So you're connecting at all levels, like the
Yeah,
kids and then the adults, because it's throwback.
yeah. And then everybody's just like finding themselves like, "Oh, the music is cool," and he's dancing, and you start getting excited. The energy is starting, and you can feel the aura around. And once I get everybody connected, and it's pretty early, or it could be pretty late in the assembly. Once I have everybody connected, the teachers and the principal dancing, to me, that is the purpose of this, is to get everybody connected and everybody to know that we're in this together. And energy can, it's easy to create positive energy. It is also very easy to create negative energy. But if we can just all support each other in a positive way, then, you know, kindness will already be prevalent, and
Mm.
respect towards one another and towards your teacher. I think at this time, a lot of teachers may be afraid, not in elementary school, or might be afraid to be their true selves. But I quickly learned that when you are fake to the crowd and you tell BS stories to them, they're going to smell that like no one else, and they will not respect you. So there are many times where I'll talk about, you know, I'll get them into this happiness state, but I also want to be real with them. You know, my dad recently passed away last year, and I wasn't very close to him, but because I'm able to share this story about him, I'm able to connect with him every single presentation like no other. And I get a little emotional. And I see some of the kids start crying. They come up to me and they say, yeah, my grandfather passed away, or my mom, she's
Mm.
not here anymore, she left us, or my dad left us, or he passed away. And to know that the kids connect even on that level, you get them expressing the negative emotions that they would be holding in, and you get them projecting that out. And for me to tell them that it's okay, and it's okay to feel like this way, and it's okay to talk about it, because it is very dangerous if you do not let your emotions out. If you kind of just let them in, and you kind of and you have no way to release them, they can be dangerous. They can be
Mm.
dangerous. And so I think releasing this energy and having them feel that it's okay, um, is something that I really value, and this is something that I really want them to learn.
What's the difference in terms of your messaging with between high school, middle school, and elementary? I think is there do you tell them different messages, like, you know, for the importance of kindness for elementary, or
Mhm.
versus high school, everything is going to be okay? Is there a difference, or even approach?
You know, early on, I had the same message for just all high schools in general, and then for middle school, I had a similar message, but I didn't talk a lot. And elementary, I don't talk as much as I do with high school because of the age level, and they're not able to just sit there and listen to me for as long. But I also have to look at the school district, what city they're in, what state they're in, their demographics, their
Mm.
socioeconomic status, because all of that matters. If a school is highly populated with Hispanics, and then I know that I'm going to have a good time, and that Hispanics are very much like Filipinos, and they're gonna understand that we have big families and we have crazy moms, and they're going to understand that. So it really depends on what kind of kids there are. With high school, I like to go into my coming out story, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, to me, at this moment, it's in the media, it's everywhere. But it is the hardest thing to do for me personally, because I still get um, uh, phone calls to the district. I still get negative comments from parents, not students, not students. I get negative comments from parents. I get negative comments or people that are calling the principal and saying that I don't appreciate that he came out and said that he was gay, because I
Wow.
want to protect my kid. What are you protecting your kid from? There's nothing that I did. All I said was that I got married, and I told my coming out story, but that wasn't even the point of it all. I wouldn't be able to be up here and be at this point of my life where I am truly happy if I wasn't able to accept myself and tell my true story. And if
Yeah.
I'm not able to do that and be vulnerable in front of the kids, how hard would it be for them to be their true selves? And so, to me, uh, it's so hard because I've been banned from schools, and I've been banned from school districts
Wow.
because of my sexual orientation, which is sad. And this is California.
Yeah, 'cause, that's a really powerful thing to share because I feel like at that stage of their life in high school, like they're in their own progress of trying to find themselves, trying to figure themselves out and find their own voice. So you, an adult, and I feel like a lot of their adults try to in their respective circle come off as like they figured it out in a sense. So
Mhm.
it's hard to connect. But with you use like being vulnerable and sharing your story, I think it's just a powerful way to for them to connect with you immediately.
In a way, this is therapy for me, Emeroy. My parents, being Filipino and an Asian household, we never said "I love you." We never hugged. We never asked how we were doing or shared emotions. It wasn't. You kind of just swept that under the rug. And so, for me to share my story, to cry, to laugh, to talk about my experiences, I love my parents, and I'm so grateful for what they've done. But I also understand that they tried their best, and I'm going to take what they taught me, but I'm going to take it a step further and let the kids know that, yeah, everybody's household is different.
Mm,
um, but it is your job to navigate through that and to learn what's right and what's wrong, because when you become an adult and you have a family, or you raise a kid, or you're now the person of the house, or it's up to you to withhold those values and choose what you're going to be teaching, because it is very important that you have good values that you can pass down. And so I'm just appreciative of my parents, but I also know that I had to I'm still learning. I'm still learning.
how's so okay? I have an idea of your elementary and the high school message. What about the middle school kids? You said slightly
Oh,
tailored. I mean, I'm just curious, like, because they're all such different phases, stages in their life.
man, middle school is probably the one where I have the hardest time in the very beginning. Those kids are going through body changes and hormonal changes, and they're transitioning from elementary school into a junior high, which is a different situation. And so I feel, for me as a speaker, I need to pull out everything, because I don't know how I'm going to connect with these kids. The number one
Mm.
thing is for me to connect with them. And sometimes the dancing isn't. And if the dancing does not, then the storytelling of how my mom used to take us to the she used to take us to the Filipino parties, and she would throw money on the ground, and she'd say, "Dance, boy, dance," and that's how I made my money.
Wow.
And we would we would go, and there was all this Filipino food, and then your auntie, and there's all the family there. They would just tell about, I would just, all the stereotypes about Filipinos, on how they gossip and how they play mahjong in the garage, or how where your dads and the uncles are karaoke in the
Yeah.
living room and watching the Laker game, yelling at Shaq and Kobe, uh, shooting. So I have to put it all. It's storytelling. It's creating that energy. And for me in junior high, they are harder to get their trust. It's about earning their trust. And once I feel that energy shift, that they're okay and they accept the message and my energy, then that's when I can push
Hmm.
it a little bit further. That's when I bring them on the stage. That's when I have them dancing and performing for their classmates. And just for them to come up on stage, I mean, that's like the most terrifying thing. But as long as they came up, they made that first step. And in junior high and middle school, it's about being trying everything, trying different clubs, trying different sports, because how will you know what you like if you don't try everything? And a lot of the kids are just too shy to do it. And hopefully, with me leading that and making and letting them know that it was okay, that it's okay to be yourself, that it's okay to try new things and to be crazy and talk about your crazy family, and to just to dance ridiculously, right, whenever you want. Um, I just hope that once they leave the assembly, they come out with the aha about, you know what, he's right. I'm going to stop being scared, and I'm going to try to find anything and do anything and surround myself with people that are positive, so that I could be supported uh, by for who I am and not for what I can do for people.
That just made me curious. Like, when you said you like when you see that you've, I guess, got their attention, like was there like a vibe, or is there like a look that you, is there a certain thing a criteria you look for, like, oh, like before you switch gears, like, oh, now I got them, like they have their attention now.
It's the laugh. I think it's the laugh. I'll tell my story and I'll do the Filipino accent, and I hear the laugh. Once I hear the laugh, or the person that was like giving me the dirty look while they were coming in, if I can get them to crack a smile or to move their arm in a way where they're dancing a little bit, then I know. But
Yo.
it's a feeling. I can't describe it. There's something about the feeling of the audience. And don't get me wrong, I've bombed, and there was one time where I didn't even get through the entire set because
Wow.
I couldn't get them to be quiet. I just couldn't get, yeah, I tried everything. And so at that point, I was like, I think next time I go there, we're going to have to do discipline. I started doing, it was elementary school, and I started doing, if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Like,
uh
I had to tell them, like, waterfall, shh. And then to get them to be quiet, I have to give them discipline points or pointers because unfortunately the faculty or the administration didn't. So I didn't know that.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I can only imagine how rough that must have been to not be able to finish your set. Like, how do you walk away from that kind of thing? Like,
Uh,
how did you like stop it? And you're like, all right, I'm done. Just walk off, or
I just said, guys, we ran out of time. I can't get you to be quiet. So I think it's time for you guys to go back to class, you know? Um, but again, like I said, it wasn't their fault. I think from that day, I started teaching them disciplinary things where I can get their attention real quickly or
hmm,
get them to be quiet. So after that, I learned so much about starting off the assembly by giving them just different signals, right? Like I said earlier, if you can hear me clap once, getting them to pay attention to me, and I can get them in sync. So anytime I needed them to be quiet, I would just say waterfall, and then go shh, and then it would be quiet.
wow,
There is a point. I've made also a point to speak to the principal right when I arrive, talk to the secretary, and also the most important person that I must speak with is the janitor or the person who's in charge of the custodian, the head custodian, because that person has been there the longest. I feel,
huh?
and they, by their personality and by how they tackle their job, I have an understanding of what the temperament of the teachers are and what the students are. And
Wow,
the janitor is like really happy, and he's like, "Hey, what's your name? What you doing here?" Saying hi to the kids. I'm like, okay, that's I'm glad that we have that connection, or that he said it first, because I know that the school climate reflects his attitude. It's
wow.
attitude. Yeah.
That just
I
gave me chills.
Yeah, I mean, those are just those little pointers that you figure out about schools. I'll even, when I'm walking, when I first walk in and there's students around, I also notice that if they ask me if I'm like, I always have them, are you Mexican? And I'm like, no, I'm close. I'm Filipino. If they ask me that question when I first come up, I know it's going to be a good day because they're curious. They want to talk to me. They want to know who I am. Like, oh, who are you? Are you the DJ? No, I'm not the DJ. I'm actually a speaker. Oh, are you about this? Is the assembly? What is the assembly about? If they come up to me and ask me questions like that, I know that we're going to have a lot of energy. If I come on campus and they just don't even know, like they don't even like acknowledge me, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a little hard because they're so focused or they're shy, you know?
Mm,
So I always try to find pointers or little things, little hints to tell me what I need to do for what's.
that's wild. Like how, like, it's not like the energy and everything pre-assembly that leads up to the assembly. That's crazy. You mentioned like one of the moments you bombed. Like, I'm curious now. Like, what about do you have any like maybe two or three moments that were like absolutely iconic that it should have been in a movie?
That I bombed.
No, 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 not bombed. The opposite.
Oh,
Like that were like this is like this moment is so pure and amazing right now. I wish this is like, am I in a movie?
yeah. I think one. I mean, it was so touching because I talked about at the end. I just say, kids. Um, I talk about happiness, but I just want to let you know that this year hasn't been the happiest. It actually has been the hardest. And I talk about my dad passing away, and he was taken from us. But before he got to leave, he got to go to my wedding, and I wasn't too close to him, but I'm every day I get a chance to speak with him, and I feel his energy in this room. And so even though I wasn't able to speak with him a lot when he was here, I am able to speak with him. Mm, in a way where it's more meaningful. And I always talk about maybe one day, my husband and I we were thinking about maybe adopting kids, and fostering to adopt because there's so many kids out there that are not in the best homes, or they move from home to home. And I think that's what we're going to do. And I would share it with these kids. And at the very end, the kids are leaving, and then one of the kids, I think he was like in second grade, he comes up to me, he hugs my leg, he goes, "Cousin Danny, will you be my daddy?" And I just like I could feel his pain, you know. So I just gave him a big hug and I said, "We'll see, we'll see." And so I think from that point on, it's like, man, like the things that I say, the things that I say really affect these kids. You just never know, like how they're affected. Some of them don't have a home. They live in motels. They don't have food to eat. Um, it's just hard. And so when I started understanding like that the day that I came was their happiest day in their life, to me, it's like I need to be at as many schools as possible because you just don't know how many lives you're saving, especially at that age. This is a second grader. This was a second grader. And now I just like look at the audience and I know that there's somebody that needs uh, they need, they need that spark. They need, they need positivity. They need that day that changes their life so that one day they'll want to be the happy man and they'll want to take my job. And I always tell them like, I'm getting old, but if you want to take my job, I'm here. You need to graduate. You need to go to school. You need to graduate, and I'll teach you. I'll take you under my wing. Let's go.
Dang,
But I think, yeah, I think every day's like that. I cry a lot, Emeroy, at these presentations because I don't know. It's just the emotion of it all. You come up, you're feeling so happy, and then you're grounded immediately about tragedy or just feeling humble or grateful for the situation that you're put in. It's like God, why did you choose me to do this? Like you chose me to do your work, and I'm just so grateful. And I just kind of pinch myself every day, thinking, wow, he chose me. I have a great responsibility to him and to everybody, all the kids out there, to just be my best. And if I don't say the right things, I know that they know that, yeah, you didn't really mean it. It wasn't his intention. It was a mistake. So there are times where I might not play the right song. They might have some cuss words in it, and I apologize. I'm sorry. Or the song is suggestive. The teachers are like, shouldn't have played that song, and I'm like, I apologize. I don't think the kids really know the lyrics. I don't remember lyrics. Baby got back when that was. I didn't really understand what that meant.
Yeah, I didn't know what creep meant. So
All these songs I didn't know. So I just know that my intention was to get them to dance.
Yeah, well, that's powerful because like being a parent and just like also like doing my own share of assemblies with Culture Shock back in the day and seeing the impact that it has on kids, it's huge because like I go in there, it's like I'm just here to dance and kind of do my thing, but when the kids actually do something like that, it's it really something so small makes such a massive impact. Like an hour of their day can
Yeah,
like could be the slight shift for the rest of their life.
absolutely. Um, I say I'm cousin Danny because I'm now their new cousin,
Mm.
and I'm their older cousin. And a lot of times I'll go out to their recess, just to kind of play with them or just be out there. And I don't mean to I don't mean to put religion in this, but I feel like Jesus, like it just everybody's surrounding me. I just feel like it's just all this love and all this like happiness and hope. I'm just so happy that I'm able to connect with these kids at least for that day. And if I come back or if they see some videos on Instagram or some of my TikTok videos, they'll still be connected. So um, yeah, I really take my job seriously because I have so much responsibility.
Man, as a parent, it's like I'm grateful that programs like yours exist,
Thank you.
or because it's like it's kids will only listen to their parents and teachers to a certain point,
Yeah,
and then it's refreshing to see like for them it'd be another voice to kind of lead them towards the right path, so to speak. But yeah, like you earlier, you mentioned some people banning, some districts banning you. Like, what are some of the challenges you face through this whole profession?
it's that insecurity of the messaging. Like, do I not tell my story when I go out to these school districts or these schools? Um, like, do I change it? And so I'm always fighting myself. Like, do I change the music? Do I do everything that they want me to do? Because essentially they're telling me what to do and I'm not being my true self. So that's where the fight is. It's like, do I take on the job even though I don't agree uh,
The
with all these
parameters.
limitations? Yeah, these parameters. Like, I'm I'm not here to hurt anybody. I know I've been doing this for quite a while. I've been a teacher. I've Yeah, it's just a lot of insecurities. And so with these schools that have banned me or highly suggested not to hire me, the schools still do it. And the parents still try to not have me there. But
Wow.
I gotta say that I'm not bothered by them. I actually would love to have a conversation or actually have them come to the assembly. I'm there for their kids. I'm not there for them. I'm not even there for the teachers. I'm not there for the principal. I'm not there for the superintendent. I'm there for the kids. And I would say 99 out of 100, um, I've done my job for the kids. And then, so I kind of try to block out the PT, the parents that are there, or the teachers. I try to block them out because when I'm on stage, sometimes I get caught up like, oh, did they think that move was appropriate, or did they think that story was appropriate? Like there's teachers that
Mm.
are not even smiling; they're like grading their papers, and so sometimes I'm like, oh, am I not entertaining enough? And so I kind of get stuck in that. But then you just look back at the kids, and they're just like looking at me. They're just so engaged, and I just got to remind myself, like, look, I know that you've had trauma in your life with adults, but you know what? You're not there for them.
Mm.
Not there for them.
What did you feel like was the most surprising when you started doing this? Like, what surprised you most when you started doing this whole thing?
That people really like dancing, that they really like moving, especially the kids on the spectrum, the special needs kids. Oh, I love those kids. Um, they are meant to move. They love the assembly because they're able to be free. There
Mm,
was one assembly when one kid was just running around and running on stage and trying to grab my microphone, and you could see his assistant, the assistant who was in charge of him, like chasing him and trying to like pull him and trying to contain him, you know?
mm,
And I said, it's okay, like it's okay. So I let him come on stage. I let him talk on the mic, and he was like kind of being my mini me, and he was just like being himself. And I didn't contain him. I just kind of just went with it, you know? And to me, I just learned that with kids, you have to let them explore, you
mm,
know? And if there's a point where you feel danger for yourself or for the kid, then that's when you can stop it or change the activity. But I never felt any danger or negativity from him. I just felt he wanted to just go on the mic, and he just wanted to scream and shout out to his classmates, because this was his assembly. This was his chance to shine and be on stage. So I used them. I
mm.
Yeah, I really do love those kids that because they're able to express themselves and they connect with the energy and the music.
Do you sometimes deal with some kids that are like mean or like judgy when the other kids go on stage, and how do you like mitigate that?
Yeah, there are the ones that kind of that laugh
Yeah,
or
because I know, because I'm asking, because I would have been little those little punks.
yeah, yeah, I just say, look, if you think it's so funny, why don't you come up here, And then their friends be like, oh, yeah, I thought so.
Oh,
Like, you can make
dang.
fun of people, but you can't take it. Okay, then you have nothing to say. And then everybody kind of like, oh, so you kind of just throw it back a little bit of shade, to the kid. At that point, I know that that kid isn't laughing to be mean. Well, I think that kid is just fearful, because or insecure. Like, oh, like at one point he's laughing or she is laughing because, yeah, oh, they're not perfect, but they're also laughing or scared. That what if they were really up there? They would be terrified.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I get, I understand, I understand that behavior.
Kind it kind of reminds me of the saying that I heard one of my friends say. He like haters are confused admirers,
Hmm.
because like they are, because what they're seeing up there is a reflection of what they want to be, but a part of them is denying it, and they're
Absolutely.
kind of, so that way they're like playing down on it. Like for me in high school, like in sixth grade, I was practicing in sync moves because they had some locking, they had some pacing, and I was called the FHE word back in sixth grade. From there, I quit dancing for 4 years,
Hmm.
and then from that point on, I hated dancing. So secretly, I wanted to dance. So I didn't get back into it in like until 11th grade. But yeah, it was like a judgment made me hate what I love. So I could see how some people do that.
And if I saw you and you told me that story, I would just tell you, like, look, you always remember this phrase when people are hating, okay? When people hurt you, just remember this: hurt people,
Mm,
hurt
that's right.
people, hurt people. And so you just kind of have to like ignore it, And I know it's hard, but if somebody's like really making fun of you, there's something that's going on, and you have to have that empathy and that compassion for that person. Um, you're not taught that, it's so hard to do because you want to fight back. Uh,
Mm,
but all you could do is try to understand or uh, just understand where that person is coming from. And maybe you might become best friends later, you just never know. I
yeah,
became friends with people that I did not like at first. And then once we found that commonality, it was like, oh, dang, we're good friends. You just never know. You just never know. So in that instance, yeah,
yeah. I ran into him like much later in life once I got back into dancing in high school.
sure.
And then after, and no, yeah, after high school, I was like college. Somehow we ran into each other. I was like, hey, are you still dancing? You still had this like air of, I'd say, arrogance, so to speak.
Yeah.
But at that time, I felt more confident in my dancing because I rediscovered my passion for it, and I was able to confidently say, like, yeah, I got a dance crew now.
Hmm.
So, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. He tried to make, I guess he was trying to make fun of it, but it was interesting. Like, I don't know. being able to face what I was afraid of before. Because that, man, I remember that day clearly. And I remember walking home that day and thinking out loud to myself, like, I'm never dancing again.
Hmm.
And then I think that was actually a huge source of why I was angry a lot too.
Hmm.
Because I wasn't expressing myself because I was judged for it.
Hmm.
Going back to you, like, what are some of the misconceptions in regards to your whole assembly, or even what you do?
um, I think a lot of people that are looking to have the assembly at their school, they'll watch the videos, and they just see a lot of dancing, and it's like a dance party, and they think, oh, he's a dancer and he's going to teach us how to dance. And when they ask me, like, what is your assembly about? Sometimes it's hard for me to describe because it's not about what I say, and it's about the energy that I create.
Mm,
And so that's why I say, I'm not a youth speaker. I'm actually a happiness creator. I create happy, positive energy that can be transferred to get people in their peak state so they can step out of their box. They can connect with one another. They could actually be kind to each other and have fun all at the same time. And if they can take that energy, and create it so quickly, what happens if the teacher in a class was able to recreate that energy, every day in their class?
mm,
How close would that class be? How open and how fun would that classroom be?
yeah,
It's about creating this environment. It's not about, it's very important to have rules, and it's very important to discipline, but it's also very important at that point for elementary school kids to explore and to have fun and move around. So now I'm starting to see teachers like, every Friday they'll have a little dance party before they start. When
that's
I was
fun.
teaching math, we would stand up and I would turn on music and we would just kind of dance a little bit and just whatever you wanted to do, every so often, because it gets your mind back into that state. And honestly, I learned it from Tony Robbins. I went to his Unleash the Power Within conference, and he said he was going to talk for 12 hours. And I said, Tony, I'm not going to sit here for 12 hours listening to you. But he would talk, and anytime he felt the energy going down, decreasing, he would turn up the music. We would stand up, we would jump, we would yell, we would sing the songs, we would high five strangers, we would dance, we would get so excited, and then we would sit down. I made a lot of friends that weekend, and I went by myself. Like, it was just so powerful because you get into that positive mindset and you feel like you're able to do anything. You're able to speak to people, you're able to come out of your comfort zone, you're able to do things you never thought. And if you could take that into your daily life and learn that, man, you're going to be a force. You're going to be able to do more things for yourself than you could possibly imagine.
Like, oh, okay, so you went to Tony Robbins for crafting the assembly. Like, how did you start? Like, part A, like
Oh,
act one, act two, act three. How did you start crafting that? Like, or did you get any training? Like, how some speakers have training for other speakers and all that.
I had no training. Okay, so I I have a mentor, and he said the messaging needs to, there's like a line that's in the middle, and all the stories and all the messaging have to fall within that line. It has to be consistent. Okay.
Mm,
Um, but in the very beginning, I already knew, like, I have 30 seconds to make them laugh at my joke. I have 30 seconds to get their attention, because if they don't laugh in the first 30 seconds, I'm done. So there is at least one person that laughs within the first 30 seconds. And so from there, it's about storytelling. It's about storytelling, and it's about recreating just what happened. Sometimes it's exaggerated. I don't really remember the exact details, but I do remember that time being important in my life. So it's about that storytelling. And then for me, I have to start my dancing in the very beginning because I get nervous when I wake up that morning. Like, I'm nervous to speak. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much anxiety, and the way that I get out of that is I have to dance. So I dance right away. And then that's when they're like, oh, okay. And then after that, we go back to storytelling. And then I throw out a task. I challenge
Oh.
them. I said, look, I'm gonna be your older cousin right now, and I'm gonna teach you guys how to dance. And everybody says, no, no, I don't want to, no.
Hmm.
Yeah, even elementary school kids like, no, I don't want to. And then they stand up, and then I teach them. I build their confidence. I do these easy moves, and I just create this energy, and they follow. And by the end of it, it's so magical, Emerald. It's like they start off with no, I don't want to they're actually doing it, you know.
Wow.
And then I started. I used to have dancers come and perform,
Yeah.
but I felt like it was a lot of the kids watching a performance and watching entertainment and not really being involved in it. And so
Mm.
instead of having dancers dance, I brought up the teachers to dance for their kids. And they didn't know that they were going to do this. So they come up here and they're just showing vulnerability. They're like, there's some teachers that run out of the building. There's some teachers that like make like excuses. And this is to me, I don't know what their circumstances are, but I do know that they missed a perfect opportunity to really like connect with their kids, you know?
Yeah.
And when the principals come up, oh, it's just so magical. It's so magical because they're having fun. And at that point, I tell the teachers, and the kids don't hear this. I say, look, I want you guys to feel the energy of the audience. I want you to scream your hardest. I want you to dance. I want you to just connect with the energy because they're going to be cheering. I want you to bottle up that energy. And when it becomes March of next year, and you are writing how many days are left on the school year, I want you to open that bottle of energy. I want you to sprinkle it over each other. And I want you to remember the happiness that you bottled up that day when you were dancing. And I want you to finish your year off strong. Because as a teacher, it's really easy to get stressed out and to feel tired and just to kind of give up towards the end. And so teachers need a lot of loving as well. And so after they perform, then I really talk about a personal story of being vulnerable with my dad's death, or just me coming out in me coming out to my family. It has to be a story of overcoming something, and I think that's the connector. And then at the very very end, we just all dance and they all
Mm.
leave. Yeah. So it's just bringing them in these peaks and valleys. It's very much like a dance routine, you know.
Yeah. Like there's always like the opener, then the chill section,
Yep.
couple section,
There you go.
then the closer.
Yep.
Oh yeah. In case you guys didn't know, like yeah, Danny and I like come from the
Uh,
Los Angeles dance community.
yeah.
Uh, Danny being a senior to me, like he's I'd say like one of the OGs or pioneers in the scene. Um, he's still looking young, and I just noticed because we're both Laker fans, we're rocking the purple and yellow.
Thursday. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
For I'm curious, like how because you're creating this energy for the kids in this assembly, and I think you've mentioned lightly like how the teachers can implement it, like having dance parties. Like how can teachers who might not get the chance to work with you ever, but how can they start creating an environment of like peaks and valleys, like to work with their kids?
Yeah. So there are a lot of YouTube videos that are out there, and there's a lot of great artists that are just teaching like these really quick dances or little dance parties. And so teachers are starting to use these resources, and they always say, "Well, cousin Danny, why don't you have a YouTube thing where you can like be the morning person on a Friday?" And I'm thinking about it, but there's so many creators out there that are doing this, and so it's really simple. Every classroom has like internet access, a lot of classrooms, and so they just put the video up, and you just let that person, whether it be like even meditation, like teachers have their classes meditate or learn breathing techniques to calm
Mm,
their anxiety. They do yoga. Some of them do yoga. Like my little nephew does yoga, and he's in like PK, you
yeah,
know? So
there.
there are lots of stuff that can get you in a peak state or even just get you into a calm state. Just playing a music like a fun song and just having the kids dance. You don't actually have to lead anything. You play the song and you just let the kids lead, or you ask the kids, what do you want to play? I think adults and teachers take a lot of responsibility of trying to have everything perfect, but in
Mm.
reality, the answer is with the kids. What do why don't you ask the kids? They know what's fun. They know what to do, you know? And if if they play a song and you hear like a word that's not appropriate, oh, you know what? Then you know that next time you gotta tell them you can't play that song, but can you pick a song that's, appropriate? I don't want to lose my job. Do you want to have another teacher? Do you want me to get fired? No, right? So you just got to be true. You got to be honest with them. Like they make mistakes too, but you just got to use your students. Like they know exactly what would be hype for their class, and what would be appropriate. That's something that you would have to teach them. So yeah, there's
Do you
there's lots of ways.
do you find it challenging trying to keep up with all the different songs and dance party dances that are coming out?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
so much. Because I still like. Because I don't know how long ago it was the Dougie, then the shoot, then dabbing, and then flossing, and then I don't know what it is this year. What the 2C slide? So much.
It's all on TikTok.
Oh yeah, that's
Kids
true.
were always like, "Do you have a TikTok?" I'm like, "I don't know what that is." Right? Do you have a TikTok? I was like, creative for me. TikTok, TikTok this, TikTok that, and I went on TikTok and I have a TikTok and I totally understand it now. I totally understand it now. So when we go back to school and I come back to these elementary schools, I'm going to actually teach them a TikTok dance that I created, and then we're going to make a TikTok. And so each school will have their TikTok on my TikTok page showing the world that we had the biggest TikTok.
That's tight.
Yeah. But I don't really like following what's popular out there, to be honest. Like I see stuff that is going out there and songs that they're using, and I use old stuff. I use TLC. I'll use stuff that I like.
Do they, do you see like do you find that kids have a hard time connecting with it, or they're just enjoying it either way? Because I feel like
They're like, no, they're like, oh my gosh, my dad listens to this song. I know this song. Oh, my aunt, she plays this all the time. Like, no, they know old songs,
sick.
or if they don't, you just teach them. Like, music is music. It's all the same.
If you weren't doing this, do you still think you'd be teaching?
Ugh. With this pandemic, I was thinking about going back. Like, there has been times where I'm like, I miss it. I miss teaching. I loved being a math teacher, and because everything was so structured. Here's the formula, this is how you solve it, here's the properties, here you turn in your homework, and there was a right and a wrong answer. And yeah, I miss it. But I don't know. I think my philosophy as a person and as a teacher that knows that there's so much to learn out there, um, I I wouldn't be teaching them what they're learning like in math class. I've never really used the Pythagorean theorem at Sprouts Market or find the slope. Like I never use that. Like I, I had my students read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and we were learning about
Wow,
interest and credit cards and FICO scores and
I would have loved your math class.
yeah,
I
like
hated math.
you got to teach them like real life stuff. And at that point when I was teaching that, my principal really supported it. He was like, "Whoa, you go." Um, but then there was this point where I couldn't. Sometimes I would get in trouble with the department chair. Like, what are you doing in your classes? I'm just like, So I just don't have. I don't. I hate to say it, but I don't like staying within the boundaries. I like to be a creative person. I like to push the boundaries sometimes and just see where it takes me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you and I share the same sentiment of like where we have a lot of freedom in what we can
absolutely.
do. So the structure isn't always, I'd say, consistent, but we have an idea of what we're going to make happen.
Yeah,
And yeah, I definitely can relate, and especially like having a lot of limitations and when there's a lot of potential with what you're trying to push.
yeah.
Um,
I have no job right now. and I'm lucky. I'm so lucky to be living where I live, and that the government is taking care of the unemployed right now, and that that I don't have any debt. My husband and I have been pretty good with having a budget, so I don't have a job. I don't know if I could not have a job any longer, and it's like I'm getting so bored in my mind, but I'm at this point where I'm a little depressed because I'm not able to do what I love.
Mm,
And so I'm battling this thing like, gosh, you have a roof over your head, you're not struggling financially, you can just stay home and do whatever you want. Why are you not grateful for this? And so I told my husband, look, I need to get a job. And I told him, okay, I need to work at Trader Joe's. And he goes, why? I don't know. I just feel like they have so much fun there. And for me to like go outside and say hi to people and to grab the carts from them and to clean it and to like help people with, finding a certain product, I think it would be a little fun, because my first job was McDonald's. It was like a customer service job, but it was hard. I think I need something like that to ground me into thinking like, yeah, you are spoiled. You are entitled. You to you, you need to have this job and make $15 an hour to really realize what, sometimes it takes that situation to ground a person. And to be honest, I think that's what I need to do. I'm at this point, I'm sort of in a like a seasonal depression where I'm not inspired to do anything because I can't connect with the kids.
mm.
So I'm trying to figure out how am I going to get out of this, and every day it's a fight. I got to keep eating right. I got to keep you know having social interaction with my family. Exercise is a key thing. Reading, just I got to do everything. But I think for me, I probably need to be around people more. So, and getting a job, I think that would help.
I mean,
So I'm applying for Trader Joe's.
who
Yep.
knows? Yeah, because you might have a conversation or an experience there might be the trigger that you need for the next step to somehow adjust to everything that's happening. Sometimes, like the only way out of it is to go through whatever's happening.
It would be my second job, and I would be happy because as a speaker, I would just speak in the mornings, like literally 8 to 12, 8 to 11, and then my day's done. And so at night, I really had nothing to do. I go to the gym or whatever, but it would be kind of cool to have a second job and just yeah, and to provide service to people. I love food.
I honestly still think that you would be an amazing YouTube personality. You have a great look. So, but I think a huge part of what you do requires the human interaction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I, yeah. I've tried it. Like I'm terrified of this camera. I'm terrified if there's not another person like right there talking to me. You know what it is, Emily? When I when I um, after I graduated from college, I didn't come out of the closet. I was still in the closet. I was 21,
Mhm.
and I decided that I couldn't take it anymore. And so I actually moved to the Philippines.
Oh
I
wow.
moved to the Philippines and I pursued acting and dancing. And I told like my parents and my friends, I'm going to pursue this because I really want to be an actor. I thought I did, whatever. But really, it was to escape. It was to escape like the shame and the guilt of, being gay. And so when I went there, I got signed to ABS-CBN.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was a host for this show called oh gosh, I don't know the name of the show. It
I'm
was
gonna look
host.
it up.
I was a host, but I was so horrible because it was a camera, and then I had to talk to the camera. There's nobody around. Like I just talking to the camera. I was not trained or anything. And I think that just affected me. I got fired basically. I got fired, I think that was the point where I was like, oh, I really failed at that job. It was something that I have to overcome. So mm, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try YouTube.
I mean,
I'm just terrified.
I'm not gonna lie, because I when I first started doing all this,
Yeah.
um, what do you call it? I was petrified of the camera. I think I started doing my own YouTube videos 2011, 12, or something like that.
Hmm.
And then I was, if any of you guys are watching this on YouTube, if you look back into the videos in 2011, 12, 13, one of those, like I would do so many jump cuts, like, and I was so anxious and tense that I would do like what I would do is I would film myself say a sentence, pause, next sentence, pause, next sentence, pause, and it took me about, I would say, I feel like 2 to 3 years to get over it, because I like, in my head it was like I always had this one piece of advice in my head that stuck through a lot of things. Like the first 3 years of any business is the hardest, and I kind of took that, the first 3 years of this, who knows where you'll be. It's a skill, and then now I've gotten to a point where like I feel like I still feel the anxiousness. It's almost like performing.
Hmm.
You're anxious, especially if you've never freestyled before. Going into a cipher or doing a freestyle performance is overwhelming, but doing it enough times or all that stuff, I think eventually became easier. And I think with you, like, it would definitely be easier. And like, since you're already, you get into a state when you speak to other people already,
Yeah.
it's I think letting go, it's transferring that state of mind to being in front of the camera.
Hmm.
Because, and then the one piece of advice that I learned that helped me out a lot was like, because when looking into a camera, you're like looking into like a huge, like one eyeball looking at you, and
Yeah.
it's like, the way I thought about it was like, who's the one person do I want I'm talking to right now. And like
Hmm.
when I'm thinking about it, especially now, is like, all right, whoever's seeing this at the other side, I know my son may eventually see this,
Hmm.
and I want to make sure that when he hears this, he hears the message that may help him, or whatever, etc., etc. Like whoever you're trying to reach out. Maybe it could be like in a, I guess you could put it in a scenario that you're filming for that second grader that wanted you to be his dad, and this, hopefully this video could somehow make an impact on his life.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. Well, I'm gonna need your help.
But yeah, like, um, I like this question. I had their share of experiences. What would you say to what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, I love that question. I love that question. I do this activity, like this guided meditation, where I have older kids close their eyes and imagine themselves on a beach, laying in the beach,
Mm-hmm.
um, with the sun, and the wind and the ocean, and they walk on the sand and they feel the water. It's so warm and
Mm-hmm.
it's just paradise, and you're by yourself and you're just like, whoa. And then you look over to the right, and in the distance you see this small person. You're like, who's that person? And then you walk closer, and there you still don't know who it is, and you walk closer and closer, and when you get right to that person on this island with you, you look down at, and it's your younger self. It's you.
Mm.
And when I first did that, I just started crying, and because what I would tell my younger self is that you are loved, you know, and that just to be always kind to yourself, because I just feel like, I would say I'm like an A-type person that always striving for perfection, but I'm so nice to other people, but I'm never nice to myself. And so I would
Mm.
just tell myself to be a lot nicer and to be a lot kinder to myself and to try as many things as possible. And that even though you don't get it on the first try, second try, or third try, just know that everything's going to be okay, and that there's a plan. There's a plan, and it's for you to just be who you are, and don't be afraid of who you are, and show people who you are, and don't be somebody who you're not. So I think, yeah, that's what I would tell myself, just to be really kind and to be really empathetic when you look in the mirror.
Mm. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I was just trying to go through that exercise right now, and then
Mhm.
the minute you said it was like your younger self, like I caught myself like it hit right here.
Yeah.
It's a powerful, uh, let's say meditation, right?
Yeah, it's guided meditation. You kind because people a lot meditation is hard for a lot of people because they can't get their monkey mind or their brain to calm down. So you have to kind of like give them, the steps or
Yeah.
visualization. But that part, and then yeah, you kind of get through that emotion, and then you kind of get lost into it.
You mentioned earlier, like in when you were in the retreat, that happiness is now, but I think a lot of people have a hard time being present with the now because you mentioned that there's the monkey mind
Hmm.
is so prevalent in so many people's lives because there's so many distractions. Like how would, and I found that meditation has been one of the biggest tools
Hmm.
in becoming more present,
Hmm.
aside from like exercise or things like that. Like how, what are some tools that help you, I guess, come back to the now to be present?
Yeah. So just recently, I've just been doing a lot of. You just got to be in tuned with uh, kind of like yourself and what are the things that you do when you're anxious or you're angry. And for me, when I get anxious, I have an urge to drink alcohol. And for many adults, it's a way, or wine for many adults, because it calms you, it kind of like numbs you to not feel anything
Takes the edge
because
off.
it hurts so much. Like anxiety, like panic attacks can hurt so much you just want it to stop. And a way to do that for many adults is to numb by a substance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or alcohol, or whatever it is. And so I learned that early, like there's going to be these anxieties, but please promise yourself that you're not going to go to that you're just going to feel it and you're going to let it pass, because it does pass. Like if you want to drink in an hour, go ahead and drink, but you know what happens after that hour? You usually don't want to, or
Mm-hmm.
if you want to eat, you're an emotional eater and you're like, oh, I'm just going to eat this cake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, give yourself an hour. If you want to eat that cake in an hour, go ahead and eat that cake. I bet you when the hour passes, you don't want to eat that cake anymore, right? When I have the monkey mind going, or if I'm watching the news and I see our president talking about injecting yourself with Clorox or whatever, and I just get angry because he's being so ridiculous. But you have to understand that um, you just have to accept it. I get anxious, you have to accept it. And the three things that I tell myself is to see. Like I stop myself, I say, see. And then I look around and I point out the things that I see. Microwave, computer, I see
Mm-hmm.
you. I see my microphone. I see my mouse. And then so I'm actually pointing out the things that I see. And then the next thing I'm going to do is hear. What do I hear? I hear myself. I hear there's like an air conditioning sound. I hear water. And then the third thing that I do is, how am I feeling? I'm feeling really good right now. Not too anxious. I'm feeling actually excited. I'm in a positive state. I'm feeling pretty good. And once you go through these things, those three things, you put yourself into the present moment. You put yourself in now. You snap back right out of it. And if your monkey mind goes again, you do the same thing. You kind of train yourself to kind of get out of that, because there's no, life is not lived in the past. It's not lived in the future. Like it's already happened. We've already had our segment 5 minutes ago. Your life is always happening at this moment. And if you can live in this moment as much as possible, you'd be amazed at how much anxiety and how much hurt you'll surpass. Like you won't even feel it, you know? You'll be more grateful.
Yeah. Too good. That was I loved hearing that because it's a new uh, tool for me to try out in terms of like being present, especially when you're triggered. Like it's easy to be like to react. So
Oh, my mom is a big trigger. I think a lot of people's moms are triggers. And it's like, it's so funny because my mom will just be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what? Why are you asking that? Like, and then, it's like, it's like, it's like, what? Oh, you're in Santa Barbara? Why are you in Santa Barbara? Because I want to be there. We're all like so snappy. And it's because I think it's like a childhood trigger or something. My sister has the same thing. And I feel like a lot of people have that towards their parents. But you got to listen to the question. The question was, what are you doing? It wasn't out of hatred. So you have to realize that in certain situations, if you're talking to a person that triggers you, whether it's a parent or like a friend or something, you got to realize like, okay, when you see her face on your iPhone, you got to like step out of that anxiety. And you just got to breathe. You got
Mm,
to breathe and you just got to put your shoulders down. Put your shoulders down and just relax because this is just a conversation, This is just a conversation. So those are the steps. And it's just funny how sometimes we're just so snappy with our spouses or with our loved ones because we're just so used to them. Like you,
yeah.
you kind of just take them for granted. And you just got to realize, oh, why am I treating you that way? Why am I
Is,
treating
is there anything you do, or is there anything you do in your everyday life that that has helped you with work?
Oh, with work, yes. It's exercise. Yeah, it really is exercising, and I'm a biohacker. Like,
Ooh,
yeah,
okay. This
so
opened up a can of worms right now.
I find ways to live longer and to be
Mm,
healthier and to be able to dance and be healthy and to continue to do what I do. It's a lot of physical work, but I'm always finding out what supplements I could take, what things I could do to get better sleep, what foods I can eat to have my immune system stronger. Like, how can I have the immunity to fight off COVID? There's a lot of things that you could be doing. How could I get more energy? How can so I'm always learning, how can I have energy? How can I stay young? And just listening to the community of biohackers and what they do to be their best selves. You're trying to be your best self because you want to perform at the same level. And when you get older, you want to be able to do the same thing. Like, I want to be able to speak until I'm 80 years old, but I don't want to have my husband roll me out in my wheelchair and then I'm just talking. Like, I want to be able to dance at least a little bit and be healthy. But how can I do that? Will I need to get stem cells? Will I need to, like, do I need to freeze I don't know. There's so many things that science is creating that is making longevity for people a reality. Like, it's crazy. Like,
yeah.
science is really like, I've been able to not be injured. Knock on wood. I have not had any injuries except for this one knee that is a little damaged because I ran. And I ran and my knee was hurting, but my physical therapist said, no, it's not your knee, silly. It's that you have a weak glutes, your butt's not.
Uh,
So I was like, oh. So for the past 12 weeks, I've been going there. We've been doing my butt exercises, like, and now when I run, my knee don't hurt.
mm,
It doesn't hurt because of I have stronger glutes. So it's just like asking the experts or asking people like, oh, what's the key? I have this happening. Like, what would you suggest?
yeah.
Um, so yeah, just yeah, just trying to prolong this life because I think life is beautiful, and I want to be able to pass this knowledge on to the generations to come.
Okay, two questions that came into my mind. The first one is, do you use nootropics?
Um, I used to.
I swear I'll get back into the topic. I'm just like curious now, folks.
I did like all the. Are you talking like modafinil and like or the?
I'm barely getting into the
Oh,
whole nootropics and like so like that's why it intrigued me. Like I like the I because for me I like trying to have like increased mental performance from work when I'm working.
yeah, I've tried a lot of stuff. Bulletproof coffee, stuff like that. A
Mm,
lot of the bulletproof items. Yes, I've tried like chaga mushroom. I tried mushroom coffee. You just try everything and kind of like what works for you. Um,
mm.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. A lot of the stuff I'm sensitive to. So it's kind of like trying it and seeing how you perform on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second question, because you said you want to do it because you have a long term plan for this. Like, how would you feel like if you see a kid that you did an assembly for in elementary school, you're now doing an assembly for in high school? Like, what would that moment be like for you?
Wait, repeat the question.
So, like, say you did an assembly for a kid who's 4,
Okay.
and then later on he grows up, he's 14, but now you're doing an assembly at his high school.
Mm, hmm. That's going to happen very soon. That's going to happen very soon. And we always connect. They're like, "Oh, you were in my elementary school." And I think what would be even cooler is that when they go to college or when they start their career or whatever they want to do, they reach out and they're like, "Hey, I started like doing this, or I started speaking, or I started doing this because in elementary school you said do what you love and be yourself and don't be afraid to try new things, and that's why I did that." If that fourth grader came up to me as an adult and said, "Hey, your assembly in elementary school changed my perception because I did not have a good childhood and I had no hope for myself, but that day changed my perception on the type of person I wanted to be, the type of impact that I wanted to make out in the world, the and how I wanted to help make this world a better place." I know that sounds so cliche, but really, what are you doing on this world to make it better? Um, if that person came up to me, man, I'm waiting for that moment. It's still early though. I'm waiting.
What advice would you give to those people who are like trying to pursue a career similar to yours, trying to make an impact on kids?
Oh, I would be their mentor for sure. If you're trying to do something, find a person that has done it, who's doing it, like the best person who's doing it. Go to their seminars, go like call that person, like get in contact with whoever's doing it. Like, why are you trying to learn something that has already been done? Everything has been done already. Don't try to recreate the wheel. Look for those mentors, those people that are in their like 60s or 70s. Like, I reach out to them and they have so much knowledge, but they want to share it. Like, they want to share it. And so you'd be surprised if you reached out to an older person and asked them, "Hey, I'm interested. I really love what you do, and you're so great at it. I was wondering if you could possibly like help me." And I'd be forever grateful. Uh, 9 out of 10 times that person be like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I'll have a conversation with you," or lead you to somebody that can help.
Mm,
Yeah, find a mentor for sure.
sick. I kind of want to reverse one of the previous questions now, like on to flip it. Like, what do you think the Danny who's done this, who's 80 years old, what do you think he would say to you now?
um, don't be in a rush. Don't be in a rush to um, be successful, because you already know that success is not determined by how much money you have, what house you live in, what cars, what clothes you wear. Success is internal. It's how you feel about what you're doing.
Mm.
And I just got to keep reminding myself that, when you make these comparisons with your friends who live in these mansions and they have their families of gorgeous kids, and uh, you kind of like compare. Uh, so just be patient and just always always think about like who you're doing this for. And once you stop getting nervous before your performances, then it might be time to change it up or to find something new. I feel like the fear uh, is something that I always experience, and that is a tell for me that tells me that I'm still enjoying what I do.
Mm.
It's going into that arena and not knowing what the outcome is going to be.
So true. Yeah.
So it's like, once I lose that, then maybe it's time to try something else.
I,
Um, yeah.
I felt similar about the when I was doing the whole competitive dance community. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't nervous on being on deck anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember randomly yelling during a performance, just like saying it out loud, like, I'm bored as shit right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where I stopped doing the competitive scene and started doing more freestyling and just
Mm-hmm.
the shift.
Yeah, it's like the universe telling you that you need to try something new.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to throw some, just to loosen it up, some rapid fire questions, probably like a good 10 of them. Okay. What's your favorite summer activity?
Swimming.
Uh, oh, I don't know how to swim. who do
I'm
you
not very
admire?
good. I like it.
Who do you admire the most?
Oh, you know, I admire my mom the most because although she drives me nutsos, man, just the stuff that she's gone through to raise two kids
Mm.
and having it's just like to see that how she came from the Philippines and just the struggle that she went through and now she's older, she's still a little cray cray and she's very worried and treats me like I'm 10 years old. But that with all that, you gotta just like give kudos. Like I have to give kudos to her because she's still young. Like she said, always says, Danny, I'm going to die next year. Make sure that you take care of me because I'm going to die. And I'm like, Mom, you're like so healthy. You know, she has anxiety, but she's like, she looks good. She's healthy. She's like outstanding. But yeah, I just look to her for her strength, just like kind of her strength and where she came from. So
Yeah, the immigrant single mom hustle. Yeah, my mom was the same.
yeah.
So, all right. So, describe yourself in 3 words.
Oh, 3 words. Positive, sarcastic, and I'm pretty kind. Yeah, I would say kind. I'm getting better at it.
Getting better at
Yeah,
it.
oh yeah. I wasn't before, but I'm getting. I just like it. It feels good.
Are you a morning or night person?
Oh, morning. I wake up at 4:30, sometimes 3:30. I, I
Respect.
I go to sleep at 9.
Where would you go if you were invisible?
I don't even know. If I was invisible,
Yeah.
oh, I would probably go into the easy. I would go to like Laker games and stuff and practice, and I would just like hang out. Seriously, I'd just be there.
You just be like the invisible sixth man.
Sure, I'd be
Just
like
like
guarding.
interrupt the passes. You
I'd
know,
be
some
like
floating
guarding
ball.
for sure. I'd just be there, like creating. But if I was invisible, well, yeah, I would just be there. I'd be like, yeah, I'd be at that practice and the games. I'd be on the road with them.
Yeah, what's your favorite TV show?
Uh, uh, what's an old school TV show? It's Martin. I like Martin.
Oh, I loved Martin growing up. That was like one of the few non-cartoon shows I loved.
Yeah, it because he would do Shanae, and Shanae was just a character that he did.
Yeah.
Now that I watch it, a lot of stuff back then was like not accepted in today's society.
Oh yeah, very non PC.
No, but it makes me laugh. Like I'm just like I can't believe this is happening because it's not accepted. Like, man, we've come a long way in society.
That's true. Oh man, I mean I feel like we can go another half hour talking about cancel culture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was your favorite book growing up?
Oh, what did I read? Book growing up. I don't even know. I don't even know. I wasn't too much of a reader.
Mm,
I actually really loved reading magazines like sports. I really loved reading uh, like Sports Illustrated, like art.
mm,
But I wasn't really
nice.
a person. I am now, but back then I didn't. I wasn't a reader.
Truly. What's your favorite song?
It has to be
Oh,
Every Little
champagne.
Step, Bobby Brown.
Oh, was that?
Every Little Step, Bobby Brown.
Okay.
Bobby Brown.
Yeah. Um, what is your least favorite food?
Least favorite food would be like okra. I don't like okra. It's too slimy.
I don't think I've had it yet, but I might have.
Yeah, when my mom puts it in sinigang, it's like, oh, you just ruined it. I don't like it.
Okay, last one is rapid fire question is where would you want to retire?
Oh gosh, there's so many places. I'm gonna say Hawaii. I don't know. I feel like I like being tan and just being in, just wearing swim shorts and flip-flops and being amongst the people and the water and nature. I think Hawaii, probably an
Yeah,
island somewhere. Hmm.
yeah, Hawaii is gorgeous. Probably
Yeah.
the most relaxed I've ever been in my life.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, we were waiting to go back, but I would say probably yeah, Hawaii.
all right, cool. So, last question of the episode. Um, once, what do you want people to say about you and what you've created once you're gone?
I want people to know that I was very passionate and that I gave it my all and that I was vulnerable, which inspired people to be vulnerable themselves. I want people to say that I tried to make people happy as much as possible and I treated people kindly and that I did it I do things for kids because I see that they are the future, and it starts like all these bad decisions or stuff that's happening in the world. It could be stopped if a kid was just loved, who was just loved, and
Mm,
just knew that somebody loved them. I think
mm,
that if every kid can feel that, then we would be actually a much kinder place, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. There's that saying of what you do to children, you do to society. So these stonewalling adults probably experience the same kind of thing with their own parents.
Yeah. Yeah. But I got lucky.
Hmm.
I found the Buddhist. I found Thich Nhat
All right. So where can people find you online to connect with you, know about happiness is now a little bit more?
Yeah, we have a beautiful website. It's fun. You can see like the different assemblies on there. Happinessisnow.org or .com, both. Instagram at happiness. Wait, is it happiness is now? I don't even know what it is.
I
Wait,
think
what is it?
happiness is now X.
Oh yeah, happiness is now X. I changed it. Yeah, happiness is now X, and also at cousin Danny underscore cousin Danny on Instagram. Yeah, those things, and TikTok at cousin Danny.
All right. Dope. So all the links, everything you just mentioned, resources, everything's going to be down below in the description. Give them a follow, check them out. And if you are a principal, teacher, a member of the PTA, and would love to have Danny come
Oh,
visit your school, check out this website. Um, I know you're not doing any assemblies now, but you can. There's a waiting list that you're doing. So
yeah.
get on the waiting list. So you once everything is happening, he can contact you guys directly. So what do you call it? I've been a witness from afar of his program when he started till now, and it's amazing to see what he's been doing with the kids, the impact of what he's doing. So check it out. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you like it, make sure you hit like, subscribe, share this with friends who you think might enjoy it and find it beneficial. And other than that, appreciate you guys for watching or listening wherever you are in the world. Have an amazing day, night, evening, rest of the year. Make sure to go vote depending on when you're listening to this. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Peace.